Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining the ACA Small Business Bootcamp and Resource Collective for this Tuesday, October 12th. We're excited to be here with you. I'm Robert Theobald, Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services at the Arizona Commerce Authority. As we like to do, we like to start these sessions by first thanking all of our community partners. We could not do these boot camps without their time, their effort, and their expertise. So for those not familiar with the Small Business Bootcamp, it is a series of webinars that we started back in April of 2020. We do them every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9 a.m. And they're designed to help small businesses return stronger from the COVID crisis. It is a statewide initiative supported by all those community partners. And because we have been doing these for so long, it has created a resource collective and a content library. And I want to dive deeper into both of those pieces. So first, the Resource Collective are additional tools and guides brought to us by our community partners to help assist small businesses. You can find additional guidance or business essentials or marketing strategies to help boost your business. You can find the link to that website, that web page, in the middle of the Small Business Bootcamp main website, or down at the bottom of the screen, you can see the actual link to the Resource Collective webpage. Another piece, as I mentioned, is the content library. And so as we have done these bootcamp sessions for the last year and a half, we record all of them and post them to our website. As you can see on the little fake screen there on the screen, under the archive section, you have all the boot camps listed by week, and you can find all the recordings in there. We have recorded close to, it's about 180 sessions now that we have recorded. Now we need to update this slide a little bit. With expert content to help small businesses, gain or have success in their business. And not everybody can make the 9 a.m. bootcamp session live, and so we record it so you can watch it later in the day, or so you can go back and rewatch it or share with others that may find benefit in the recording. And not only do we have just the recording, but we also include the slide deck from the presenters. So if you want something specific out of that slide deck, it will be available to you on the content library page. So with that, we have another couple great websites to help support businesses and people during this COVID pandemic. The first one is the state's COVID information and resource page for everything COVID, arizonatogether.org. And then the Arizona Commerce Authority set up the COVID-19 Business Resources website at azcommerce.com/COVID-19. This page has business guidance, financial information, and other great information for all size businesses throughout the state. Another thing we like to do is share our programs. The ACA has a number of programs to help support small businesses. So first, we have our small business services that I'm over. We have our workforce division. They actually presented last week on a boot camp talking about the programs that are available for employers. And then we have our Arizona MEP, our Manufacturing Extension Partnership. They are also a great program for small to medium-sized manufacturers throughout the state. For those that are looking to start a new business during this time, or grow or expand your business into new product lines or areas, we have our small business checklist. And this is an interactive online resource that can help entrepreneurs and small businesses understand the licensing, registration, and compliance needs at the local, state, and federal level. Along with it has information on business planning and development. You can see procurement, marketing, and a lot of other great information and resources as you look to grow and operate your small business. So with that, we want to jump into our updates. So we have a new update. You see the very first piece, the new Maricopa County program. There's a new program that should be released, I believe, tomorrow. I don't have any links for it because they're not out yet, but be looking out for those businesses in Maricopa County. Be looking for that information. I will have more information on Thursday's boot camp as well on October 20th. It's a Wednesday morning. We don't have it set up yet, but we will be doing a special session to focus on this program and share that information with you. So Just wanted to get a quick shout out that Maricopa County has a new program coming out to support small businesses. The other pieces on here, the PPP loan forgiveness, EIDL, and employee retention credit, we're going to post links in the chat for those programs. They are still great programs, and we can't stress enough on the PPP loan forgiveness. If you got a PPP loan, you do have to apply for forgiveness. So if you haven't done so yet, work with your lender, make sure you do get that in on time so you can have all that information. All righty, so let's look at some upcoming sessions. Of course, today is techniques to reduce stress and burnout. Thursday, we have End the Year Strong, 5 tactics to end the year in high gear. Then we have low budget guerrilla marketing techniques. We are doing a special session on Thursday, October 21st, not special, but a follow-up session on PPP forgiveness. So if you still have questions about that, please join us for that session. And then on Tuesday, October 26th, we have 10 legal mistakes small businesses want to avoid. Then Thursday on the 28th, we're going to have a new one. We've touched on about every mode of social media except for TikTok. So we're going to have your business on TikTok. Learn about that. We've got another one coming up on the Tuesday, November 2nd, called How to Handle Haters. We all know during the holiday seasons, customers, clients, everyone gets stressed out. You know, we're going to listen to Carrie today and learn about how to avoid stress and burnout, but a lot of people won't listen to it, won't be able to handle it, and they turn into haters sometimes in the holidays. So we're going to learn how to handle haters. And then on the Thursday, November 4th, we're going to celebrate our 200th Bootcamp session.
Wow.
And with that, it's a veterans-focused boot camp as part of the SBA's National Veterans Small Business Week. So we've got a great lineup. That one's actually an hour and a half long, but we have an amazing lineup to present. If you're not a veteran, I would still encourage you to join. You're going to hear some great stories and see some great programs to help people. You probably know someone that's a veteran. Please get the word out. This is going to be an awesome session to help veterans understand what programs are available to help them start and run their businesses. So with that, we're going to jump into today's sessions. We've got a new speaker with us today, Carrie Brzezinski. We're excited to have her here to talk about helping us avoid stress and burnout. So Carrie, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn the time over to you.
Thank you. Okay, I will share my screen.
Excellent, looks good.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here today. As he said, my name is Carrie Brzezinski. I'm the founder of Redwood Executive Coaching, where we help organizations retain their key talent. And one of the big passions that I have is making sure that well-being, stress, and burnout are not those things that take you or your employees out. So today we are going to talk about, make sure I got the right, oh, now it's going. We're going to talk about kind of the overlooked stress and those signs of burnout that a lot of people just kind of poo-poo, look the other way. That could be some early signs that you or your team are getting burnout. Give you some actual strategies to help you reduce burnout, stress, and anxiety, and then actually do some techniques. This isn't going to be just me giving you information. I want you to actually be able to interact, participate, and feel how easy some of these things can be for you to actually reduce your risk of stress and burnout. And then how to keep work at work, because a lot of people say that bleed over into their personal life is really creating some havoc and that there's no separation. So before we get started, I want to talk to you about what is stress and burnout. We think about stress and all the myriad of things. You know, we've got a million things on the calendar. We've got all of the accomplishments that we want to get done in our businesses, all of the here and those calendar items. And we as a society have kind of become where we think that over scheduling ourselves, being overextended, always doing and doing more and more is this badge of courage. Like, oh, I can one up you, it's like, oh, I got to take the kids to this and I have to do this. Oh, well, yeah, but I have to do this. It's all of that. And the World Health Organization actually designated stress and burnout as a chronic epidemic. This was before the pandemic, but that it was such a big issue that it's actually been listed as a syndrome that people have. And it is because of unrelenting, unmanaged stress at work is what is causing burnout. So before we get going, I would love to have you just real quickly on a scale of 1 to 10, think about the last bit of your, maybe the last couple of months, or even the last, 6 months of this pandemic, everything that you've got going on. And just in the chat, pop down what your stress level is on a scale of 0 or 1 to 10. 10 being like, I am ready to just cry if you tell me I have to put one more thing on my plate. 1, just, hey, life is great. I can go about it. And I always have time for myself. Just go ahead and put it in the chat. And I just realized I lost the chat. So put that down. Unfortunately, guys, I can't see it. All right, well, I'm just going to take, I want you to, we're going to reference back to this later in, but just write your number down of what you are for stress. And
Hey, Carrie, I'll read through some of these.
Okay.
So we've got a 9, 7, 8, 8, 8, 9. Oh, we've got a 2. Excellent.
So pretty high.
Pretty high.
Pretty high. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're not alone. And the thing is, why does it matter? Why does it matter to you as a business owner versus, or even if you're a leader, why does it matter? It's because 50% of stress and burnout lead to turnover. Turnover is costly. A lot of people, especially small businesses, either we can't afford to offer health insurance to our employees, or we see how expensive it is. And 50% of our absenteeism is related to stress. And then 75% of the time that we as Americans go to the doctor, it's because of a stress-related condition. So it actually is really hitting us where we might not even realize it. Some overlooked symptoms that people just think, okay, it's not that big a deal for stress and burnout: headaches, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, skin conditions. People don't even think about that. That eczema, the more stressed you are, the worse that gets. Asthma, the higher our stress and burnout, the harder it is to control. And depression, anxiety, and it even leads to increased pounds that we all hate carrying around. And those are all common things that happen when we're stressed and burnout. And I'd like to just share a quick little story as to why this is so passionate for me. So I've been a nurse for 30 years. I was a hospital executive for 15 until I just couldn't do it anymore. I felt like I was always sick. I was always at the doctor's office, and stress and burnout were just like, I didn't really think about it as affecting me. That affected other people. But when I sat back, I had 3 cancer scares. I was 150 pounds overweight. I felt like I was failing in my job. I was able to kind of hold it together to get things done, but I wasn't that Johnny on the spot getting things done ahead of time. I was starting to get really short. I was starting to resent my job because it was taking away time from my family. And I just felt like I was failing. And it took me finally to walk away because there was no support, and to finally be able to get my life back together and realize that it was stress and burnout. And so that's why I am passionate today to make sure that you, your colleagues, all of us have tools to be able to decrease that stress and burnout that we feel, so that you don't have to walk away from your job. It's a blessing. I get to do what I do now. But I just don't think that anybody should have to get to the pinnacle of their career and walk away because of stress and burnout. So the other things that actually contribute is stress impacts the top 6 causes of death in the United States. You can see them there: heart disease, cancer. Now, granted, this is I didn't put COVID in there, but actually COVID, even with the last year, doesn't hit the top 6. Lung ailments, your accidents, cirrhosis of the liver. You don't even think about that. But people will, when they're stressed or really burn out, sometimes have lifestyle soothing methods that aren't always the best for our bodies, whether it's poor eating, whether it's drinking, and then we also have suicide. And just to kind of put it into dollars and cents, the US spends $190 billion on stress-related illness. And we attribute about 120,000 deaths each year related to stress. And like I said earlier, 75% of the time that we go to the doctor's office, it's because of the way that stress is impacting us. So if you're stressed and you are one of those 7, 8s, and 9s, you're not alone. Our world is really stressed and burnout right now. 34% of Americans say that they have a feeling of burnout that is higher than it was before. And in 2020, it was about 50 to 60% of people were saying that they were feeling burnt out. It depending on the study that you actually looked at. And that work from home, so some of you may have work from home, some hybrid. You may even work from home, depending on where you run your small business. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have it in my home, but 69% of us that work from home are saying that we're experiencing burnout. And that 79% of adults, just this overall COVID, the things that have happened in the last year and a half have really contributed to the stress. And over half of us are saying not only is it impacting our work lives, but it's impacting us personally in a very negative way. So remember, burnout is only related to the work confines. So we're going to really talk about how do you create some strategies to reduce burnout. It's that work related. And for those of you that are actual small business owners, you're probably reading the Great Recession or the Great Resignation, where over half, I think the study I looked at from Gallup last week that came out, it's 56% of employees are actively looking or would willingly take another job if one came along. And of that percentage, 74% of those people said it's because they're just not engaged. And one of the things that we can do is create some engagement. But before you can create engagement, we have to realize that burnout has 3 pillars to it. I like to think of this as you as the center. I put the 3-legged stool on there because I think of it like a 3-legged stool. If you rip off one leg, it's going to wobble over and it's not going to be able to stand. When we as individuals interact in the work environment, we are at the center and we can control what our reaction. And there's a lot of people that'll say, oh, you just need a vacation, or you, excuse me, you just need to meditate and you need to do all of these things. That is one leg of the stool. And the one leg of the stool that we're going to talk about today, the one leg of the stool that we're going to talk about today is you, how you control you and how you respond to stress. But there's 2 other legs to the stool. So when we go in and we work with an organization, we actually want to be able to address the environment. You as an individual have a little bit of control over that, kind of that work environment, what's going on, the boundaries that you set. But then you have the organizational culture. And if you are the owner of the small business, you get to set that culture. But realize that the way in which you create your organizational culture impacts you as an individual. Think about, after hours emails. What are you doing there? What kind are you sending it? Is it this constant on? And so there's things that you can do at an organizational level, things that you can do in the work environment, but then it's you. So again, like I said, we're going to talk about you today, how to build your personal resilience, give you the tools for you But as you can see, they go hand in hand. You have to have all three. So you can't pour from an empty vessel. We've all heard this. You can, when the coffee pot's done in the morning, you have to make more coffee. You can't get anything else out of it. And so one of the first things that we have to realize is that one leg of the stool that's you have to start taking care of you. You want to be there for your employees. You want to be there for your colleagues. You want to be there for your family, but you've got to be there for you. And I like to share with people, think about it. Are you a good friend? Like most people be like, yeah, I'm a good friend. My friend need me. I do this, I do that. But are you a good friend to yourself? Because there is some opportunity for you to be a much better friend to yourself so that you actually do reduce your risk of stress and burnout. My top 3 strategies that I want to share with you today, and then we'll actually do some techniques, is sleep, stillness and mindfulness practices, and learning to say no. Sleep, in my opinion, is the most underutilized stress reduction, burnout recovery hack that we have, so to speak. And then just creating some stillness and mindfulness, we'll go over that, and then learning to say no. And you guys do you have a hard time sleeping at night? Do you get the recommended amount of sleep each day? I mean, the CDC says that adults, we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Now think about this. Most of us in our society, unless you have really made sleep a priority. And I will tell you, since I left my hospital executive days, sleep is a priority. I am in bed between 9 and 10 o'clock pretty much every single night. I mean, it has to be a pretty big deal for me to stay up beyond that, because I know that my body needs sleep. And the nurse in me knows that our body needs sleep. At night, our body goes through this whole rejuvenation process, and it needs us to be still and quiet. And you think about during the day, what happens of all the stimulus that comes in and all of the interactions that we have, our brain cells actually swell. So people think, oh, I want a big brain. But think about it more as, when you get a sore throat and your throat swells. That's kind of what's happening at night or during the day. As stuff comes in, all of the toxins, everything that you come in contact with, just kind of gets put into our body, and our brains will swell a little bit, those brain cells. Well, at night, I like to think of it like a wash machine. It's like it goes in there and it just cleans everything out. And so instead of having that sore throat in your lymph nodes and your throat all swollen, it goes back to normal. When you don't get you're really tired and you get that really scratchy voice and you kind of start to get a sore throat. Well, it's your body saying, I need time to clean up. And so that's what happens every night. And then it goes in and you're able to, with lots of different hormones and all things that go on in the body, where the brain cells are able to be cleaned up and we're refreshed and ready to go for the next day. I like to share where if you have children, or if you've been around children, moms of toddlers, you know how important sleep is to them. You know that they will move heaven and earth to get that nap in, or they will rearrange their morning because they know they've got this much activity. We've got to get a nap in, and then we can do this in the afternoon. And then they have a set bedtime. Why is it as adults, we seem to think that the sleep is not important? Now, when little kids don't get their sleep, they're cranky, they don't eat well, they're kind of miserable to be around. Guess what? We as adults, I hate to tell you, but when we don't get sleep, we're cantankerous and bears to be around too. So we need to make sleep a priority. I have clients that I work with, and we actually have them set an alarm of when to go to bed at night, like when to start an evening practice of winding down, limiting the technology in that last hour before they go to bed. That blue light, the white light of all of our electronic devices, and we're all, we've got our phones and everything. There's an app that you can put on your phone. You can put them on your computer. Folux is the one that I use. There's lots of them. I know that Apple, you can do the nighttime where it actually pulls that blue light, gets more amber light so that it's not telling your brain, hey, keep going. The blue light and the white light actually causes the cones and rods in the back of our eyes to tell our brain this is sunlight and we're ready to go for the day. So when you're able to decrease that, especially if you have a hard time going to sleep, when you can decrease that blue light, it can make a big difference. The other thing is dietary. You can limit your caffeine. Watch if you're having trouble going to sleep at night. A lot of people will say, whoa, sorry. I thought I had everything turned off. Sorry about that. And so at night, if you're having a hard time going to sleep, limit your caffeine. A lot of times people will say between noon and 2, later than that, it will affect your sleep. Now, I know everybody is different. And I will tell you, before I turned 50, the caffeine didn't bother me. Hit 50, it seems to bother me now. And so I limit it to the morning, but you can kind of watch what that does. And then the other thing that you can use is your food. We hear lots about, not having that big meal before you go to bed, but the other is being able to add some, what we call resistant starches. And if you're really interested in this research around resistant starches, feel free to email me and I'll share it with you. But resistant starches are kind of they're beans, rice, potatoes, ideally that have already been cooked, and then you kind of cool them and then you rewarm them, and you'll notice how it kind of gets that starchy, sticky stuff. You'll notice it more in potatoes than even the beans and the rice. But what that is resistant starch. It's good bacteria, or not bacteria, but it's a prebiotic that feeds your gut bacteria, and it actually holds your blood sugar longer during the day. During the night, I'm sorry. And so what happens is you have a little bit of that resistant starch, and it doesn't take a lot. 1/4 cup is all it does. And I actually went, because I was like, this is really working. So I went and tested it. It's anecdotal. There's research behind it, but I did it for myself. 2 weeks where I used it, 2 weeks where I didn't. And it really did make a difference. And I slept through the night. What happens is sometimes you wake in the middle of the night because you've had a blood sugar rise. When your blood sugar rises, your glucose goes in to grab it, to pull it, or the insulin goes to pull it and come down. And then the other thing, when that glucose goes higher, is your cortisol tries to bring it down. And your cortisol is kind of your stress hormone. So you get this jolt of stress hormone that should be in the morning while we're waking up. And it's all related to the food that we eat. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help improve your sleep at night. But again, you have to make it a priority. You want to have a consistent routine where you're kind of slowing down, decrease the technology, and see what you can do with your food to help you get a long night's sleep. The other thing that you can do to help is the stillness mindfulness practices. There are all kinds of different processes that you can use for stillness. Some is just simply to be still. When people are extremely stressed and burnout, when you ask them to be still, like just be still, sit, they would rather gnaw off their right arm. That's how I know that you are probably one of those people that are at that 7, 8, 9 on the scale of stress and burnout, because just you feel like you got to go, but your body needs time to just be still. And I like to encourage people to actually put some white space in their calendar. We talked about this earlier, where it's this go, 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 go. The more I am committed, the more time on my calendar, the more things I do, the better I feel because I'm busy. But if you can calendar in white space, and if you're a business owner, think about it. You need time to be able to, I never have phone calls. Sorry about that. You need time to be able to think. And if you are constantly going and you create no white space, you can't think. You can't plan. You just, it's like you're always going to the next. And then you're like, okay, at 10 o'clock, I need to be creative and I need to do this copy for this ad campaign or whatever. It's really hard because you haven't been able to just give yourself some creative time. One of the amazing things that we did as kids is we daydreamed. Think about, I remember in third grade, like looking out the window and getting called on like 4 or 5 times. And I was watching the fall leaves fall from the trees. We don't do that anymore, but being able to just escape and do that daydream actually can help you reduce your stress. You can do breathing, grounding. I'm going to share a couple of those techniques with you here in a few minutes. And then yoga. Lots of people love yoga. It's this gentle movement. You can go forest bathing. That's why I use this picture here, because it just reminds me of just being still, calm, and quiet. And then a lot of people like journaling. I will tell you, journaling, I had a hard time with. But one of the things that I learned early on that was great for journaling is just open a book, open, some paper, and just jot down everything that comes out in your head. So there's a multitude of things that you can do for stillness and mindfulness practice. It's choose what works for you. I always share that that the carpenter has multiple tools in their tool belt. They don't go to build a house with just a hammer. They have lots of different things. Well, when we're looking at stress, burnout, building our resilience, we need multiple different tools in our tool chest. And so here are a couple of them that you can do that just, that work for you, what you want. And then the next is learning to say no. And I know this is very hard, especially with the holidays coming up and people are getting more and more out and about and they want to be able to do it. And they're like, you know what? There are some things of the pandemic I kind of liked. I liked being able to not have to be on the go all of the time. And you need to be able to say no. But it's hard for people, even though it was probably one of the first words that we learned as children. Our kids, they're always no, no, no. And you learn it. It's easy to say, but it's hard to say as an adult. So I encourage you to start saying no. And one of the things you can do is actually when somebody asks you to do something, no, but thank you for asking. And so much of the time, we put a preconceived notion that's of an expectation when the other person didn't even have that. I share an example when my son was at Montessori and we were doing a fundraiser and I was actually traveling. I was going on a conference and then a speaking engagement and I couldn't be there. And I had always been that mom that was there. And I felt so bad. And all they did is send this email that said, hey, can you sign up for it? Sign up for a time that would work for you. Well, I was not only sign up for the time, but also bring the cookies, the this, the that. And I just said, here's my pre-done thing. I did this ahead of time, but I'm out of town. And I felt really good. And I was like, oh, they're going to think bad of me. They're going to, why isn't she doing that? They didn't do any of that. They had no expectation. They just wanted to know who was there. And when you say no, you give somebody else an opportunity to step up. Think about it in the teams that you work in. Do you have that one person that you always go to because they won't say no? But what if they did say no and you were able to give somebody else on your team the opportunity to shine? You're doing the same thing. If somebody called and asked you, because we talked about this earlier, you're a good friend, you would be there. Well, allow them to be there for you. So be okay saying no. And like I said, you can derail it by no, but thank you for asking. And do you know when I actually went to the next event at my son's school, do you know what they said to me? Oh my gosh, how was your trip? So here I was worried that they were going to judge me or, be disappointed in me. And they were like, how did your trip go? How did your talk go? So a lot of times it's this banter and talk that we put in our head. So be okay just saying no. So now we're actually going to I'm going to walk you through a couple of different techniques in the last 10 or 15 minutes here that we have before we open it up to questions. And it is, like I said, being still. It is just what it sounds like, be still. You can do this with your kids. You can do this with your teammates. Sometimes I have people, if they have a chronic thing that they do, so maybe it's going, they're really trying to increase water in their day. They get their glass of water, and every time that they get the glass, they actually just hold the glass, feel it, and are still. Okay. A minute is all it takes. Multiple minutes throughout the day can actually make a difference. So it doesn't have to be this elaborate practice. You don't have to go up on, the hilltop and sing and be still, or whatever some people have as images of what these practices are. It's you being able to do it in the moment, in your environment that works for you. And then I'm going to take you through 3 different breathing techniques and then teach you a grounding technique there at the end. So what I'd like you all to do is just sit up tall in your seat. And I'm going to teach you box breathing. Box breathing is just we're just going to kind of think about taking the breath in a box. We're going to inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and you just keep going around the box. So and some people will say, I can't hold my breath that long. Your 4 doesn't have to match my 4. It's just that rhythm. If you need to do a quick 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, inhale 2, 3, 4, it's the rhythm. And then what it's doing is it's allowing your body to get from the fired up, keyed up state that we live in so much of the time, which is our fight or flight, our sympathetic nervous system. And when we do these activities, it pulls us over into our parasympathetic nervous system. That's the system that tells our digestion to work. It helps us, down regulate, calm. And so these techniques that you can do will help you get out of fight or flight and over into that rest and relax your parasympathetic nervous system. So again, take a big breath in, just normal breath in and out. Now we're going to inhale for 4, in 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4. We'll do another cycle. Inhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4. And you would do that about 4 to 10 times, depending on 1, how much time you had, 2, how anxious you are. And then at the end, you just want to take a nice big breath in and then blow it out. And what I want you to do is just one more big breath in and then blow it out. And can you feel the difference in your body? And it might take you a few times going through that, but you can do that anywhere. You can be in a meeting and somebody is starting to really, get on your everlast nerve, and you can just quietly inhale, hold, exhale, hold, inhale. And you can do it very, very quietly, or you can do it whatever the situation is that you're in. So that is called box breathing. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. Like I said, you can do this with your kids, your family. It's a great activity to just kind of bring you into yourself. If you need to do a presentation or you need to really be on, and it's like, I need to just calm myself down and be there. This is a great one. Now, I'm sure you have all taken a deep breath before. Think about it. Take a big deep breath in and then blow it all the way out. And what I want you to do on this breath is as big as you can, hold it, and then blow it out as long as you can. So it's a deep inhale, hold it, and now blow it out for as long as you can. That exhalation, when you have an exhalation that is longer than your inhalation, again, it takes you out of fight or flight, sympathetic, over into your parasympathetic. And so again, just take that big breath in and then exhale as long as you can. I have a picture of bubbles on here because before the pandemic, I handed out bubbles to everybody. And I said, think about bubbles. Bubbles, who can't blow bubbles and be, it's fun. You take a big breath in and then you're pursing your lips and you're blowing because you're trying to get that balloon or those bubbles to go out into the air. With the pandemic, I suggest you can still do bubbles. Do them outside, do them at home. Don't do it in the workplace because this is a respiratory virus and it can live on those bubbles. So, be conscious of that. But one of the things that you can do to help have some fun, bring some joy, go outside and blow some bubbles when people aren't around. And it really does help you take that big, deep breath and then exhale so that you are creating that long exhalation that pulls you over into your parasympathetic nervous system. And before I show you the next one, I want you to take another big, deep breath in and then blow it out. And what I want you to notice is as you blow it out, do your shoulders come down? Your shoulders should not be your earrings. Okay. That's when you know that the tension in your life is just getting, when you're like all up in, we call it all up in your head and you're all tense. And so your deep breathing can help you bring those shoulders down. Bring it down. Take a big breath in. Watch your shoulders relax down. And you can even visualize as that exhale goes out, all of the stress just kind of blowing out. As you can see, these things don't take a lot of time, but you want to consistently wrap them into your day so that you're not so reactive, so that you can be able to just be in a calmer state. Because when you're calm, you think about that, when you're like really calm and somebody drops a big bomb, like, oh my gosh, we've missed this deadline. And you're just kind of like, you know what? We're going to regroup. We're going to talk about this and we're going to just do this again. But then if you are like all keyed up and you've got 15 things and you've got this person and that person, and then they come in and drop the bomb on you that they've missed a deadline, you probably get reactive and you might have a very short fuse. So these things are to help you. Remember, it's just that one leg of the stool so that you are not as reactive. You can be calmer, more in your parasympathetic nervous system than in fight or flight. So the next breathing technique that I want to share with you is called 4-7-8 breathing. I love this anytime you just feel like it's getting to be too much. And when you do this, you're going to inhale for a count of 4. You're going to hold it for a count of 7. And then you're going to exhale with pursed lips for a count of 8. And you can have added bonuses that you can put your tongue right behind your teeth, right there at your teeth and where the palate meet. There's actually a pressure point that's a de-stressor. So if you've ever noticed the things that we do when we're stressed, a lot of people will touch the roof of their tongue like, oh, let me think. It's actually a pressure point. There's a reason that we do that. Our bodies know how to do the things that we need. So we're going to use that to our advantage to help us again get from that parasympathetic or that sympathetic nervous system over into parasympathetic. So you inhale for a count of 4, inhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then just take a big breath. And you can do this for about 3 times. Now, if you've never done this type of breathing, you might get a little lightheaded. And it's just a momentary, it's just you being able to bring in additional oxygen and exhale that carbon dioxide. And what this does is it really calms your whole body down. So try it again. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. We'll do it again together. So inhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then take a big breath. And feel, does it feel different? So we've got one more fun little counting, breathing technique that we use, and it's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And for these, I forgot, I didn't put them in here, but there's some handouts that'll actually walk you through these techniques. And so I'll make sure that you get them or share how you can get them. When you are super stressed, one of the things that happens is your body cannot process multiple things. I know people think, oh, I'm a great multitasker. We're not great multitaskers. We go back and forth really quick between things. And so with this technique, it's you just observe 5 things. You touch 4 things. It's really using your senses. You're quiet and you listen. I like to have people listen close, listen far, and then smell. Can you smell your coffee? Can you smell a smell in the air? And then taste one thing. Maybe you have sometimes people say they can taste the air. It's really using your 5 senses to walk through that so that you actually can calm down, take a breath, and then go on to the next thing. So again, it's you notice, observe 5 things, touch 4, hear 3, smell 2, taste 1. And so the last technique that I want to leave you with is leaving work at work, because that is one of the big things that people have a hard time with. Whether you have a home office and you have to create space and designate, walk away, or you are, shutting the door and leaving it. We have to do better at leaving work at work so that we can be present with our families. That is one of the biggest things that people say is it's like, my job is encroaching on my life. If you're a business owner, your life is kind of your job. And so you've commingled it. And so you've got to be able to create some separation. One of the ways that you can do that is to set boundaries. Make sure that your workspace is in a designated space. If you're working from home, don't do it in your bed. Don't, if you've got it at the kitchen table, put it away. Try to create this distance from work, disconnect from the technology, and then have an end of the day closure where you do some type of practice at the end of the day that says, I'm done for the day. A lot of people, because they're working from home or they have they don't have the commute like they used to. I tell people, go walk around the block, create a commute. Because like for me, from my office to the kitchen is maybe 12 steps. Okay, that's not a lot of distance. So I need to create an opportunity to close my office off at the end of the day so that I can go be present. Doesn't mean that you don't come back to it later. It's just having that practice to be able to separate so that you can go forward. So what you do is it's a lot of the things that we've done so far in an end of the day practice. It's taking some breaths. It's realizing that you did a good thing, affirming the positive of the day, visualizing you leaving it, and then you smile. And so I'll walk you through the actual how you do it. So I like to stand behind the door or a doorway. If you're, you have to close up for the night, you just stand there and you just take those deep breaths that we just talked about, 4 to 10 of them, whatever it is, to get you in that space where it's like, okay, I'm leaving work and I'm now going to go home. Some people will do it at a time clock. Some people will do it, I roll the phones over, whatever it is, just take a couple of deep breaths. Think of 2 things that you're grateful for the day. Okay. It could even be, I survived the day. Maybe it was a hectic day, but think of 2 things to leave on a positive note. And then you simply say to yourself, I did my best today. I did good, whatever those words are to you. You're like, okay, I accomplished something. I survived. I did this. And then visualize the stress of the day. And I like to have people think of, that, Clark Kent used to go to the, or not Clark Kent, Superman or Underdog. That's what it is. Underdog. He used to go into the phone booth and he'd come out and he'd have his cape on. Well, think of it backwards. I mean, you think of like you going in you're going to take off the cape of the day. You don't have to be anybody's hero now. You get to go home and be you. And so just visualize yourself leaving that stress, and then you walk through the door and you smile. And you would be amazed at what the smile does. And so all of these things are additional things you can put in your toolbox. Does any one of them knock you out of burnout? No. Does a practice of these help reduce your risk of burnout? Absolutely. The more resilient you are, the more things that you can implement that apply to you, the less reactive you're going to be, the more you can be enjoyable to be around, and the less apt to be burnout. And so think for just a second, what is one thing that you could incorporate today? And I want you to, as you think of that, think of what it is, what's the one thing of everything I've shared today that you're actually going to do? And now what I want you to do is I want you to take a big deep breath in and blow it out. And now take a big breath in and put a smile on your face and see if it feels different. Because smiles are contagious and smiles really can help us. And sometimes we, as business owners, we paint on a smile because it's what we have to do, but our brain doesn't know the difference. So the more that we can tell our brain that we're not in this fight or flight and that we take our deep breaths, we can feel a whole lot better. You know, I heard somebody say no amount of breathing, meditation, or trips to the spa, a day off, are going to stop your burnout. But what they do is give you the opportunity to recoup. Because again, we only talked about one leg of the stool. You still have the organizational culture and the environment that you have to be able to deal with to really address burnout at an organizational level. Because remember, we don't get burnout in our lives at home. We might use that term, but burnout is truly an occupational issue. It's because of our jobs, unrelenting stress that is not managed. And so I hope that you found these to have a few tools that could actually help you with your stress. So with that, if I have this slide on here, if anybody has any questions or would like more information, I'm happy to share. You can reach me. Our website is Redwood Executive Coaching. There's actually a place on there that you can book an appointment, call me, email me, however you'd like. I'm happy to chat with you. The other is if you want the handout I have a little one sheet on reducing stress, making sleep a priority, as well as that end of the day. You can go to Redwood Executive Coaching /handouts and it'll get emailed to you. So with that, Robert, do we have any questions?
We have one question in the Q&A right now. So if you have questions, post them in the Q&A and we'll get to them. It's from Kayleen. It's a really good question. It says, I struggle with feeling like I've not had enough time to myself throughout the week, which sometimes makes it difficult to want to sleep. What is your opinion on the 4-day work week or flexible working as a possible solution? Or do you have another recommendation?
I love a 4-day work week. I actually implemented it at one of my hospitals many years ago. It's amazing. And if you look at the research out there, there was a big study, I think it was done in Iceland, where they actually took and this was pre-pandemic, and they actually found that so when I did a 4-day work week, it was 4 10-hour shifts. We weren't able to cut people's hours. But in the Icelandic study, they actually 4 8-hour days. And they found that I think it was 20 to 30% higher productivity with 3 8-hour days versus 5 8-hour days. So I do think that there are some advantages to it. It's creating the what works for you. The other thing is that sometimes people will say we have to work between this hour and this hour. I saw an article that I read actually last night that I think it was 48% of the people would stay with their current employer if they had more flexibility. And that work-life balance is becoming more and more of an issue. So that flexibility, so while it may not be feasible to go 5 days to 4 days a week, I think it's a huge opportunity. The other might be, some flexibility in there. Does it have to be straight through? Can you do some morning, have some break, and afternoon? The other thing that I didn't share that is probably an easy one for people to do that they just give away, and I say take back lunch. Take your lunch break. Create that time, especially if you don't have time during your workday and your work week, that 30-minute break where you can get your food. We live in Arizona. Go outside, get some sunlight. Most times of the year, we can, even if you have to throw on a sweatshirt in the winter, we can go outside and enjoy a meal. And that break can give you an amazing boost to your afternoon. The other is, I highly recommend meditation. Meditation actually, and I use one that's called Yoga Nidra. And with that, it can be as little as 10 or 15 minutes. And if you're not a meditator, like I was like, I can't stop my brain. I can't do this. And, you go a million miles away. It's not meant to stop. Our brains aren't meant to stop. I mean, they're meant to keep us safe. And so they're constantly going. But when we can quiet it down, and what I found is that when people meditate, even if it's only a 10 or 15 minutes, excuse me, through the day, their sleep improves. So there actually is some study and some correlation. So kudos to you if you could do a 4-day work week. If you can create some break in the middle of your day with a lunch, add some meditation, it might help.
Excellent points, Carrie. I look back, I was had a retail career for many years of lots of long and stressful days. And the lunch piece was incredibly important, getting out and not just taking lunch, but actually getting out of the building for lunch. Yeah. It could have been sitting in my car, could have just been walking around the parking lot, but actually getting out of the building. And I found that too in an office setting and at home is just getting out of your normal environment for a few minutes, to have lunch, take a breather. Working at home in the pandemic, I found, I need to walk around the block. It's my break time. I need to take a break and just get out and walk around the block, or just walk down to the corner and back. But it's getting out of that environment for just a moment, helped clear up my head and made me more effective throughout the day. So great advice. We appreciate the presentation today. We're right at time, perfect timing. Don't have any other questions come up, but thank you for that great information. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for the interaction on the chat. And again, Carrie mentioned we'll post the slide deck in there so you can see the link to the handouts, and we'll try to get those from Carrie so we can maybe post them with the presentation on our website. This presentation will be available later today, the recording of it, so you can go back and watch it or share it. We hope you got value out of it. I really enjoyed it, Carrie, so thank you for coming and being with us today. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up. We will see everybody on Thursday morning, 9 a.m. for our next session.
All right.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.